Anyways, man, let's get right into it. Obviously, we're here to talk a bit about the mental side of tennis. What was your
hmm
first introduction to the mental side of the game, and when you first realized how important it could be to your play?
Um, Good question. Probably when I was 16 or 15, actually. I left home very young age. I left home when I was 12 years old from Zimbabwe to South Africa. My brother was already at the academy, and there was an ITF academy, so it was like a development academy. They took, one or two players from Africa and different countries. And when I got there, I kind of in the beginning was just working hard and, playing tournaments, kind of, just going through it. And then when I was 15, kind of got introduced to ITF events, playing like junior ITFs and that kind of stuff. And then I don't know, I started to realize like, okay, I'm not just competing, with 14-year-olds or whatever, 12-year-olds, but I don't know, I kind of to notice like, hey, maybe I'm doing really well in practice, or I'm beating these guys in practice or other matches. But when I come to a tournament or, a really important match, then I felt like, I'm better than these guys strokes wise. I'm better than these guys athletically, but why am I losing a match? And I kind of sat down with my coach, and my coach kind of introduced me to the mental side of games that I didn't know existed,
Yeah, yeah.
until then.
I read a book recently. It's called Winning Ugly by Brad Gilbert. And
Oh, great book.
he talks about the
Really
exact
good book.
same thing where, he'd be
Yeah.
playing the pros and the guys coming up, and he wasn't the most flashy player or the most, technically gifted player, but his mental side
Uh-huh.
of the game is what propelled him to have the career he had. And he would always say people would tell him, you're not supposed to beat this guy, or, you're not supposed to beat him and stuff
Exactly.
like that. But
Yeah.
it's so interesting how much the mental side of the game can play a role at things.
Yeah, I haven't read the whole of Brad's book, but I've read extracts, and a couple of my
Yeah.
coaches have read a couple pages to me. And yeah, you've hit it
Yeah.
nail on the head,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
That's a book I finished recently. Another one I finished recently was The Inner Game of Tennis by, is it Timothy Galloway or William Galloway? One of the two. I'm butchering his
Okay.
name right now, but it's another really, really good mental side of tennis book that I took a lot of things out of it for when I play tennis and whatnot. You
Awesome. Yeah, you
mentioned,
have to send me the link.
I'll
Go
send
ahead.
you
Go
the link
ahead.
for sure, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned you left home at an early age, and I read in one of your bios, I think your bio on the Louisville website, that leaving home at the age of 12 is like one of the most important, like biggest factors of who you are today. Talk to
Mhm.
talk to me a bit about just your whole thought process behind that. Was that an easy decision for you to make, leaving home at such a young
Um,
age?
No, it wasn't easy. I was brought up in a very sporty family, and my brother, in a way, cleared the path for me and led it. And so he was already at this academy, but I kind of didn't know. I was chatting to him here and there, but I didn't know what it was like. And, I was playing all these different sports. And then at 12, I got the scholarship. I played the scouts came out to a tournament and like the regional games, and then, offered me the scholarship. And in a way, it was kind of like, okay, I knew my parents maybe couldn't pay for all the travel and stuff I needed to. So I thought, okay, financially, it's a good decision. But yeah, I was leaving all my friends, leaving my parents, leaving all of that. But, yeah, it was tricky, but I think something that really helped me when I got there in the beginning was exciting, and then after 2-3 weeks, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't see friends, or
Yeah.
I can't see my family and stuff, and I was going home once a year.
Yeah.
So I think it was like I kind of started to mentally be like, okay, this is my career, and I'm doing this not just because I'm doing it. Going through the motions. There's a purpose behind why I'm 12 years old and I'm away from all my family, and training 3-4 hours a day. So it was kind of when I understood and mentally really accepted why I'm here and what the purpose was. Yeah.
Yeah, that's I think for any professional athlete, they don't get to where they are without some sort of sacrifice
Mm-hmm.
on any step along the way. And like you said, that's for you, that was kind of the moment where it all clicked in of what maybe it takes to get the level that you want to achieve at. Going
Yeah.
past that, moving away from home in that regards, you obviously made it to the US to play some college tennis there. How did that come about? Did you get recruited? Was it Louisville you started off at?
Yeah. So again, I always wanted to. My brother had he's 3 years ahead of me, so he had
Yeah.
had set the way. But then I went to play the Orange Bowl. My first time to the States. Played Eddie Hearn Orange Bowl. It's like the World Junior Championships.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a ton of coaches. All kind of watching your matches. It's a different kind of pressure. Everyone's coming up to you, a little bit daunting. But then, you know, I kind of set up some meetings and recruiting visits. And then, to be honest, that wasn't a difficult decision for me because I'd already made that jump from leaving home at such a young age and being away and dealing with, you know, living in an academy based and not seeing my family and missing all that stuff. So in a way, moving to the States was more exciting for me than daunting. And then, I started out at Louisville. I did my freshman and sophomore year there. And then, I was just looking for something different, and to what the ethos was at the school and with the coach and stuff. And, you know, I enjoyed my time there, had a great time. But there was a South African coach at University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and he had recruited me actually when I was a junior. And Louisville was, I think, top 20 at the time in college. So I kind of looked towards Louisville, but then realized, you know, hey, I was looking for something a little different, and I wanted to be geared more towards pro tennis instead of just, you know, playing for the school and playing for college wins. You know, I knew I wanted to go pro, and I luckily found that in UNLV.
Yeah. Leaving Louisville to UNLV, looking back at it, as an athlete, do you ever feel bad for leaving the school you originally committed to?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. You know, you see all these transfers, and I think in a lot of football, basketball, baseball, it's a lot more frequent. But, you know, in tennis, I don't know. I guess in every sport it's a big deal, but it was a little bit daunting. I didn't know what to expect of it, and I kind of just thought, oh, this guy transferred, but you don't really know the ins and outs. So it was difficult. Yeah, it wasn't. I made the decision at the end of the season, you know, after the NCAAs and ACCs, and it was tricky. Actually, I did it the right way. I hadn't really spoken to any schools or done anything until I told my coach and leaving and got my letter of release. So I kind of, you know, told my coach I was leaving and I didn't have a school to go to. I knew there was options I could, you know, reach out to, but I hadn't set anything in stone. So that was a little bit scary, but if I could go back, 100% would have made the move again.
Right now, obviously, you're playing a lot more doubles than singles. Back then, was that the same ratio of matches you were playing? Were you already making that transition to play primarily doubles, or were you still dabbling in the singles?
In my freshman year, I played mostly doubles. I was in and out in doubles. And then in my sophomore year, I played a lot of singles and doubles. So it was kind of equally ratioed. And then when I got to UNLV, that's when I, you know, kind of really developed my singles game. And I played my best in my senior year. I was playing number 2 for my team. And then I had a really good first year out of college in singles. I won a lot of matches on the tour, you know, qualifying and coming out, qualifying, and that was great because I played a lot of matches in college up until May, and then I was able to go right onto the tour. So that really propelled me and prepared me. And then I just had a lot more success faster in doubles, so it allowed me to play bigger events. And with those big events, I was kind of like, oh, you know, do I now miss out on playing a challenger or playing these, you know, high level futures to go play a 15K in North Africa? So it was kind of a decision that was forced upon me in a way. But, you know, whenever I get the chance, I never stop practicing singles. Whenever I get the chance, I play. But I've had to kind of move my focus more towards doubles just because of the rate of success, I guess.
Do you approach a doubles match mentally different than a singles match, or in your mind, is it all just tennis?
No, it's different. It's different for sure. I think I've learned that on the tour as well. You see guys, you go at the, you know, bigger level events, you see guys, doubles guys, singles guys, their practices are completely different, you know. Solely doubles guys, so much more specific, so much more intense, if you want to say. And then a singles guy is like, okay, you know, if you're grooving, you're still, you know, practicing for your singles. But in doubles, just hitting balls cross court, it's not really going to make a huge difference. So I think, when I approach a match, for sure, in a singles match, I know, okay, hey, I got like two service games holds to kind of get into the match. But doubles, you know, you got to come out first 2 points of your service game hot. Otherwise, you know, you're in trouble.
So before I started playing tennis, I had probably a misconception that doubles tennis was easier than singles. And maybe some aspects it is, some aspects it definitely isn't. But for me, the one thing that really stuck out was when I play singles tennis, I'm kind of a little bit more okay at making mistakes because I just have to wrestle with the idea that I let myself down and I can get over that pretty quickly. But when I play doubles, the one thing I really struggle with is not only am I letting myself down, but I'm letting my partner down as well. And just knowing that I lost a point from my partner, and I could have had a bad shot and he had nothing to do with it and I'm costing him a point. That's what really messes with me mentally when I play doubles tennis. As a doubles tennis player yourself, how do you get over that mental hurdle of not worrying about making mistakes and costing your partner mistakes?
Yeah, it's tricky. There's no way kind of to prepare for it. And in my case, especially my brother, you don't have such a brother too. But I think you just kind of got to accept it. And if you play with a partner that really takes to heart your mistakes and stuff, no one's trying to miss a volley or trying to miss a return. So I think if you're playing with a partner that's really taking that to heart every time, you're never really going to gel. But at the same time, there are days where you just feel like, oh my gosh, my partner's letting me down. He's really not helping me today. Mm-hmm. But I think as I've grown, I've still got a lot to grow. But, in the last couple of years playing on tour, I've learned to just be super positive on the reverse side when my partner makes a mistake. Maybe my brother or someone else won't do it all the time to me, but I've just learned instead of like showing the guy, hey, you messed up on a set point or a deuce point, it's not going to help anything. Although you want to get that feeling out, rather, keep it inside, almost bluff a positive, response, and he'll probably play a way better point the next point.
Yeah. You mentioned playing with your brother. I know you've won, most, if not all of your titles playing with your brother. Has that been the plan since day one to play doubles with him, or is that something that kind of just came about?
No, it's been a dream of ours for a long time. I think we grew up watching Davis Cup in Zimbabwe. That was we don't have ATP events here or Master Series or anything like that. So growing up, Davis Cup is our biggest thing, and we watched the Black brothers who were multiple Grand Slam doubles champions, and we watched them, and it was kind of like they're brothers, we're brothers. We're like, one day we'd like to do that. And so that's always been in the pipeline and in the dream. But sometimes it or just over the period, he's 3 years older than me, so it's kind of had to be a waiting game. He started out earlier. We played a little bit when I was in college in the summers, but it's definitely always been a dream of ours. Yeah.
Is there something specifically that sticks out to you? Comparing your game with his game as to why you guys work so well as a team?
Yeah, it's a good point. I think people have different opinions on it, and I'm sure different tennis players will tell you. But in my opinion, I think you gel the most with someone who you actually don't have the same game style. In a way, you complement each other. If you have two guys who just have massive serves and don't return well, I don't know. In my opinion, I don't think it works as well. But if you have that blend, I think the best doubles players in the world do that. Mm-hmm. So with my brother and I, my brother's, he's a little bit taller than me. He's a little bit bigger. He brings the heat. He brings the big serves. Whereas I'm a little bit more athletic, if you want to say, in that point where I'm a little more agile, a little bit more, faster. I've got quicker hands and stuff. So I make a lot of returns. So in that sense, we kind of complement each other. And yeah, it's worked well so far. So that's my opinion on it. Yeah.
Does your mental game complement his as well? Or being brothers, do you guys have similar mental approaches to the game?
I think recently we started off maybe with different approaches because he had been on the tour already for 2 years. He had his own experiences. I was just kind of coming on. But recently, kind of starting from last year, when we've had our best wins, we've been on the same wavelength. And that's come with a lot of conversations, a lot of heated conversations sometimes off court. And but I think now we've kind of come to the point where we see things the same way on the doubles court. Yeah.
It's a good point of you kind of have to go through a lot of adversity to get to the point where you're at right now, right? Like it's never, it's not just roses 24/7 when you're with your tennis partner. There's times where you need to disagree about things and come to a conclusion. And that, not only helps you on the tennis court, but I think in life in general and how to problem solve situations and how to work 100%. As a team. I always like to talk about how things you learn in sports complement your personal life as well. As you get to be a better problem solver and, a better teammate in sports, it only helps you in your personal life and transitions to that as well.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah.
You've obviously had a lot of success so far, specifically on the ITF Futures Tour. But I got to imagine for an athlete, it's hard to find a tournament that feels better than your first one. Walk me through, your first tournament you won. Was it 2016 in Mozambique?
Yes. Yeah.
What was your
right.
kind of your mentality approaching that tournament and approaching the finals? Did you go into the tournament expecting to win, or did it just come out of the blue?
It was interesting because 2016, I just finished my sophomore year at college. So I just transferred, I hadn't gone to U in Vegas yet, but I'd made the decision to transfer and I was waiting for the fall. Mm-hmm. And I worked really hard that summer. I actually flew to Florida State to where my brother was. He was finishing up and we trained together for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and before Mozambique. So that really did me well. And then we flew to Mozambique and, I think the previous year we had made a final and we'd lost our first final to two of our good friends, Evan King and Anderson Reed. King has played multiple Grand Slams and stuff. So I was a little bit like, oh my gosh, made my first final, lost it. Yeah. But in a way I was thinking, okay, we beat some good teams. And I was thinking, okay, I'm excited for the next summer. I think, we play well together. And then we got to Mozambique and I think we lost, it was 2 tournaments there. And actually, there was a really good showing. We looked at it the other day. A lot of guys who played that tournament, ended up, on the Challenger Tour doing well. But we lost semis the first week. And then the second week, we kind of just were a little bit more relaxed. And I was, I hadn't played with him for the whole year. He was in college, I was in college. And then after that first week, we kind of got our mojo back. We started to feel sinking. And then I think in the final it was live streamed too, so I can't sometimes go back and watch that, that match. But I was a little bit more relaxed, I think, because I'd been in a final before. I'd been in that situation, so I was nervous, of course, but I was a little more relaxed and helped having my brother, on the court. Yeah.
I can't remember if it was that final that I saw, but looking back at your finals records and the matches you played, I've seen you've gone to a lot of tiebreakers and some that go to 10-8 and even 11-9. Yeah. When you're in the final sets and, the tiebreaker's coming, what are you telling yourself in your head?
It's interesting. Someone, I forget who told me, but, because I'm 23 and in tennis, that's kind of especially on doubles, that's a young age to be on tour. So I ask a lot of guys on tour, for advice. And even if I'm playing the same tournament as them afterwards, I try and just ask around and just get a lot of info. It's just my personality. But someone told me, when you get to a tiebreak, especially a third set, just focus on making first serves and making returns. So my brother and I try and keep that, in our mind on just when we go into a breaker, we really focus on making first serves, making returns, because anything can happen. It's a little bit of a gamble in a sense. Everyone's a little bit nervous. Everyone's, a little bit antsy. So that's the way I go into most of my break.
I like how you said how you kind of ask around for advice from other players. I think that's so important to the development of any athlete is within the sport. Of course, you want to be a competitor and you want to be the best you can be, but there's also other people around you that have a lot of good different information that you can take from them. And I always try and really tell some of the younger kids that I consult or coach with is to take advantage of the people that you're playing around or the people you're playing against. When you're in competition, I think it's okay to quote unquote hate them or look at them as the enemy. But, the more, I guess, friendships or relationships you can develop within your sport, it only helps you grow as a person, as an athlete.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And actually, I watched a little bit of your interview with Ruben Gonzalez.
Right.
And he's a good friend of mine. And, we're obviously, there's a lot of years between us, difference in age, but he's been, over the last year, he's actually helped me a lot. I think we were in China together and I got to know him and I said to him, I think we'd both lost that day. He was catching a flight the next day and I said, Ruben, have you got a minute just to come and chat? And we just chatted and we spoke and he was telling me his experiences, my experience, and we kind of bounced off ideas. And so I like to do that. Not with everyone, go and pour out your tactics to everyone, but if you get close with someone, I like to, hear, and he's been on the tour for a long time. He's got so much experience. He's won a lot of events. So, I like to do that.
Yeah. Tell me what it was like representing your country at the Davis Cup, because, it's one thing to play in a professional tour. It's another thing to go on the international stage and represent your country.
Yeah. As I said, for us growing up, Davis Cup is the pinnacle. Obviously Wimbledon is my ultimate dream, but growing up, the pinnacle that you can see is Davis Cup. So that kind of got me up in the mornings, until I made the team. And then think I was supposed to make the team as the junior, like bring on, as just the extra player to play the dead rubber or whatever when I was 17, and then it didn't work out. I was going to college, whatever. And then when I was 19, I made a final of doubles with my brother, and then they kind of brought me on. And I played my first tie, actually, not with my brother, with another doubles specialist. And we won in 4 sets at home. Mm-hmm. And it's a different baby. You walk onto the court and, you've got, especially playing at home, you've got, 1,000+ people, and you got your family members, you got all the stuff. And it's just a different pressure. You can play in crowds, but when you're playing, in front of everyone, basically majority who wants you to win, and all eyes on you, 19 years old, it's tricky. So I think I've gotten better, as the years have gone on, more experience, but it's for sure my favorite week of the year every time Davis Cup comes around.
Is that when you feel the most pressure, when you're at the Davis Cup, or is there another tournament that sticks out where you really start to feel the pressure in the fans and the media and everything?
I think, no, nothing like Davis Cup. But maybe playing like we have 1 or 2 futures here in Zimbabwe, so playing in that, everyone kind of expects you to win and that stuff. But Davis Cup is, it's kind of both ways, because you feel a lot of pressure going onto the court, but at the same time, I feel like I play my best tennis on that stage. So it's, it's a catch-22. It's going to be a lot of pressure, but at the same time, how exciting it's going to be. And it's a mixture.
In Brad Gilbert's book, The Winning Ugly, what we talked about a bit earlier, he really emphasizes pre-game routine and kind of getting ready for a match. So when a match is announced and your opponent in the date and time of the match, how far, before the match are you starting to plan for it, whether it's mentally or physically? Like physically as in tactically, specifically for that player.
Okay. I think it's tricky. People have different ways of doing it. When you look at a draw, a lot of people can kind of look past the first round, look, okay, which seed is in my draw, except stuff like that. I try my best to just focus on the match in front of me. At the same time, maybe the names who you're thinking of playing, you can kind of keep an eye, but I just focus on the guy or the team that I'm playing. And I don't look too far. If I'm playing that guy and then the guys who I'm playing maybe the next round are playing, I'm not going to go watch that match, because that's going to get in my head a little bit. So I just focus on the guys I'm playing or the opponent I'm playing. And probably, if it's first round, the day before, and then probably after that, as soon as I'm finished my next match, cool down, get a rub down, go see the physio, and then do my stretching. And then after that, I'm kind of, thinking, or if I'm playing doubles, I'll talk to my brother at dinner and be like, hey, who have we got tomorrow? Let's go through it. What are how these guys play? What are they doing? So that's kind of the way we see it. But then, to be honest, the next day, I don't like to talk about it too much or to get it in my head like match day. I don't like to, I've put it all down the day before, and then when it comes match, I just want to focus on myself being ready.
It kind of reminds me of, unrelated to sports, but again, talking about how things in sports translate over to life in general. When I was in school studying for exams and stuff, I was never the type of person to cram before an exam, because I always thought to myself, if I know it, I know it by now. If I don't know it by now, I'm not going to ever know it, right? And I guess it's a little bit of the same approach for you. Like you want to prepare days ahead, so you're not cramming everything the day of.
100%. Yeah. You can relate it to studying for an exam. You can go back and look and say, okay, I just wanted to check this 1 or 2 points that I wasn't thinking. In the same way, I'll go back in my head and think, okay, 15, 20 minutes before the match, just go over quickly, okay, what did I say? But not actually analyzing, as you're saying, cramming right up to the match, at least in my experience. Yeah.
It's pretty obvious you have a pretty strong approach to the mental side of the game, but is there one part to the mental side of tennis that you're trying to really focus on right now and really bring up its strength?
Yeah, I think, as I said, because I came out of college and had a lot of success quickly, you kind of think that it's just going to continue, that you're just going to, clean up and do really well in futures and get to challenges, do well really well in challenges, and then play ATPs, Grand Slams. But it's just, it's unrealistic. It's not like that. It's 3 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So I sometimes struggle to conceptualize that and really accept that when, maybe last year my brother and I beat, a top 50 doubles team who made quarterfinals or round of 16 at Wimbledon. So we're like, oh, we have this level, we're going to break through. And then maybe 2 weeks later, you lose first round of a challenge event. So I think understanding that the path is not this, it's not a sprint, Another guy I really look up to is Raven Klaassen. He's from South Africa and he's a top 10 doubles player. And I did off season with him last year. And he told me, last thing he said when I was leaving, he's like, just remember, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I think that's what I know it, but I still need to kind of ingrain it in myself that it's not this just quick thing where you break through and then you're playing on TV.
One thing that's really stood out for me about tennis is, again, the camaraderie amongst the community. And you see so many times where guys in the top 10 or top 20 are practicing with maybe some guys in the top 100 or top 200. And I don't really see that too much in the other sport. It's just something that really sticks out to me. I think it really talks to, the character of tennis players and again, the camaraderie that they have, that they're willing to practice with other players on the tour and learn from each other.
Yeah, you're right. And I think, I don't know, I can't say, but the way I see it is if, a guy, starting out and playing pros and stuff wants to hit, or junior and stuff, I've been there. And I think a lot of tennis players can relate, that's why you're like, okay, you've been there. When you were there, you were just dying to play with a pro or a guy. Top 100 is dying to play with the top 10 to hit with Roger and stuff. So I think they just understand, you've been there at some point in your life, and, how would you like to be treated if you were that person? That's at least the way I see it. Yeah.
Man, one thing I wanted to try out right now, something new, brand new for the podcast, is I collected 20 of my most favorite tennis quotes to do with the mental side of the game. And I'll let you pick a couple from 1 to 20, and I'll let you pick a couple of numbers at random, and I'll read you the quote. I want you to tell me what the quote means to you and maybe how it's related to your career so far.
Awesome. Yeah, cool. We'll go ahead.
Yeah, so you got a number between 1 and 20. I'll let you do the randomization.
Okay, how many numbers am I going?
From 1 to 20.
I'm going all 20.
We'll do 2 or 3, but
2 or 3. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go with 7.
7. So this is one by Andre Agassi, obviously one of the greats of tennis.
Incredible guy. Yeah.
He said, "Freed from the thoughts of winning, I instantly play better. I stop thinking and start feeling. My shots become half a second quicker. My decisions become the product of instinct rather than logic."
Sure. Yeah. Actually, that's close to home. I was in Vegas. I got to meet Andre a lot. Got to spend a little bit of time with him. And when he was coaching Novak, I was practicing with Novak for the week. And here, my partner and I had a little chat. He had a chat to us, and he told us actually very, obviously didn't quote himself there, but he said a very similar thing. And he said when he dropped to 144, he kind of enjoyed tennis, and it was 144, 157 something. When he came back to number 1, that's when he enjoyed tennis the most. And when he was enjoying it and not just thinking, I'm just here to win, or I'm just here for my job or whatever, when he was enjoying it, he was looser. And so that hits the nail on the head there.
Yeah. That's the whole thing about not thinking when you're on the court. That's something that's really preached about in the book, The Inner Game of Tennis. One of the exercises that he gives in that book is the ball hit exercise. So as the match is going on, every time somebody hits the ball, you say hit to yourself. Every time the ball bounces, you say ball. So you're constantly saying ball hit, ball hit, ball hit as you're playing. That allows you to stop overthinking your shot, and really just kind of lets your instinct and your just natural athletic ability to take over.
Yeah, sure. That's it's true. And I think the question was how it relates to me. Definitely sometimes I can't control it. You go into a match and you just really want to win, and as much as you try and bluff yourself to be loose, you get out there and you're a little bit tight, and balls are landing short and you're missing serves and stuff. But definitely when I go out there and I'm relaxed and I've prepared well and I'm not thinking so much about what's at stake, I definitely play my best tennis. Yeah.
Let's do another one, man. Do you have another number between 1 and 20?
Okay. Let's go 13.
13. This is Thomas Berdych, obviously the Czech national tennis. I think he just recently retired. So he said, the mental side is an important part of the tennis puzzle. If you're able to master all areas of being a professional athlete, you can be successful. My mental coach has taught me very simple things, such as creating a system and a routine in your daily life that helps you to work.
Okay, well, what I take from that is 2 things when he said that that he creates a routine. I think that's massive from the mental side. I'm not a super superstitious guy, but there's certain things I want to do, leading up to a tournament or leading up to a match. And if I am not doing those things correctly, or I'm not, I don't do them, I'm not to say I'm going to lose, but mentally I'm not as confident going on. So that's, that I can relate that to my game for sure.
Another thing that I really took from that quote when I read it was the daily routine. It allows you to set up those small goals to achieve the bigger goal. So you're looking at the process of things. If you have a goal of, winning, a Davis Cup match, for example, right? Mm-hmm. You can't go from, 0.0 to 0.100 just like that. There's steps along the way to get to that point. So when I hear that quote, I always kind of makes me take a step back and really think about what are the things I can do day to day that helps me achieve my long-term goal. Yeah.
That's a really good point. And like I said, with the sprint and the marathon thing, I think that relates to it a lot. Yeah.
Let's do one final one here, man. Do you have another number?
All right. I'm going to go, just because I think maybe you would have had a little bit bias writing your favorite ones. I'm going to go with number 1.
Number 1? This is one by Serena Williams. Obviously, everybody know who she is.
Yeah.
She said, I'm a perfectionist. I'm pretty much insatiable. I feel there's so many things I can improve on. So we talked about it a bit, I guess, how, I guess for me, when I read that, I really took away from it that no matter how high you get, there's always something to work on. You're never finished. And I think that's one of the most unique things of athletes is they get to the pinnacle. They can win Wimbledon. They can win the US Open. They can win the Super Bowl. There's going to be somebody coming after them, right? So there's no time to rest. There's no time to take a step back. You always got to have your foot on the pedal.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think, I've even been watching during the quarantine, I've been having a little bit of downtime, or at least more time than I would have had. And I've been watching a lot of videos with my brother of Novak and Rafa and Roger. And you look at them, 2007, 2008, when they were still number 1, 2, and 3, but their games are so different. They are, Novak is hitting the ball so much harder now. They're moving so much better. And it's just like, if the number 1, 2, and 3 in the world who have reached, if you want to say the highest level, the pinnacle, and they are still improving that much, then why should we ever be content with our games? So that's something I've incorporated, that even if feel like I'm playing my best ever, I'm on a really good streak, I've still got a way to go. I need to improve this and that. Yeah.
Before we wrap up here, I have a couple rapid fire questions for you, given we're in quarantine. What's one TV show you're binge watching nowadays?
It's a tough one. I've been studying a little bit, and I'm on a project, so I haven't been watching a lot of TV shows. But I think the most recent one I watched was La Casa de Papel, Money Heist. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I that's on my next on my to-do list. That one, I've heard good things about it.
It's a good one. Yeah.
Who's your favorite sports team you support?
Arsenal.
Arsenal. Yeah. You're a Gunner, eh?
Yeah, I'm a Gunner.
I don't know about that. I don't know. If I knew that beforehand, I wouldn't have scheduled this interview.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of heat recently, but I grew up when they were having their dream run, so I'm loyal. Yeah.
I don't have anything personally against Arsenal. It's because one of my best friends is probably the biggest Arsenal fan I know, and just by nature of that, it's made me kind of have a bad taste in my mouth about them, because all I hear about is Arsenal. I'm a huge Juventus fan, so we don't get to play each other that often. But back in the day, they play each other quite a bit in the Champions League. Always heavyweight matchups.
Yeah.
What's your quarantine snack of choice at the moment?
Snack of choice. Very fortunate in our house here. We have an avocado tree. Wow. So the avos fall every second day, or if not every day. So for lunch, my brother and I every day have been having avocado and toast with some chopped up meat or something. So avocado.
Avocado tree. That sounds like a resort. I'd pay to go there. I'd pay to live in there. Who's the toughest tennis player or tennis pair that you've had to go up against?
I played Jarkko Nieminen in Davis Cup in Finland, and I got absolutely smoked. I felt like had break points, I had game points. I must have had over 15 game points or whatever. I just I could hardly win a point against him. He was just at home. He had dropped out of the top 100, but he was just so good. The surface was made basically for his game, and yeah, he was incredible. Yeah.
In that match, how quickly did you realize the situation you were in and the opponent you had in front of you?
I think the first game I served first, and I was hitting some good serves or whatever, and we deuce ad. We played like 6 deuce ads, and I just couldn't close it out the game. And my heart rate was just, obviously I was nervous. I was going out, your heart rate's already high, but I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to get my heart rate down. And this guy is just not giving me anything. So I think after the first game, I was like, wow, I'm in for a ride. Yeah.
What's the favorite city you've traveled to play in? And you can't name anywhere in Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe is a beautiful place, but my brother and I, we always talk about it. There's this tournament in Ajaccio. It's on the island of Corsica. Okay. It's just off of Nice, and it's kind of in between Nice and or just off Italy, and next to Sardinia. And it's unbelievable. Just cobbled streets. The courts here, are high. You're basically, right next to the sea, and just unbelievable venue. Yeah.
That's one of the most beautiful things about tennis, I think, is how much of an international sport it is. And not only do you get to travel to many different cultures and cities, but you get to meet many different people from cultures and cities. And it's really just one of the more beautiful sports, I think, in the world in that regards.
Yeah, 100%. We're very fortunate.
Last question for you. And I want you to think before you answer this, because I'm going to hold you up to it. But who's one guest that you think would be good on this podcast, that you think's got a good mental approach to the game? That
in tennis or in any sport?
Any sport, any person that that has a good mental approach to the game.
2 guys, I think. Tennis, a guy who, again, he's been a little bit of a mentor for me as well, is Evan King. I think I mentioned him earlier. He's had a lot of ups and downs, and he's played at the highest level. He would be a really good guy to interview mentally. I think especially now, the way he sees things, the way he sees life, and the way he handles wins and losses is definitely admirable. So he would be a good one. And then he actually did a live video with my brother the other day, but there's a cricketer from Zimbabwe. His name's Sekunda Raza. And just hearing, I don't know him so well, but just hearing a little bit, he's very devoted to his faith, and the way he sees his mental, he'd be a good one as well. Yeah.
Anyway, any plug you can put in, I appreciate it, man. But those are some good, those sound like some good guests. Again, sure, Courtney, yeah. I appreciate you taking some time today. Hope again that you, your family, and your friends are staying safe through the whole coronavirus outbreak, and hopefully, I guess they have the June 13th, was it, or July, somewhere around that?
July 13th.
July. They're hoping to restart tennis, and hopefully that date sticks, and we can see you you and your brother and everybody back on the court, and get back to what is hopefully as much normal as possible, our daily lives.
No, thanks, Adam. Thanks so much for having me. And I really enjoy your podcast and your videos. It's really, I think what you're doing is great. And I think a lot of people just kind of see the actions in the game, and you kind of forget a lot about the mental game. So I think what you're doing is great. And thanks for having me.
Yeah.